Hi everybody, I'm Cristina, founder of Liberate. This is our mascots, Miss Piggy and Mr. Chew. Liberate is like the Willy Wonka chocolate factory for spirituality. You might wonder what the heck that is. And so basically, Liberate is a place of sheer magic, activating and reigniting that magic into you so that you can live your fullest potential and most fulfilled life. When you walk through the door, you're gonna see magic everywhere you look. You look down and you see a crystal floor made with over 10,000 pounds of crystals. You say that's a lot, but I know I laid them and had to do numerous trips to the crystal store to buy more and more crystals. There's all of these beautiful magical gemstones that are activating and creating healing from the beneath and the surface. You see the tree of life when you first walk in. You go upstairs and every room has its custom sacred geometry mural in it. And then you notice that each of the rooms are labeled with different names of deities or archangels from different traditions and religions from all over the world. This is Liberate. Liberate is a space of union. Liberate is a space of creativity. Liberate is a space of expansion. And we're here to help heal you, transform, and help you rediscover yourself. Hi, this is Cristina Dam, and this is Liberate the Podcast, where we educate, motivate, inspire, and liberate your consciousness. Hi there, welcome to another episode of Liberate the Podcast. Today we're going to talk about astrology and what's going on in the world and how astrology plays into it, and kind of taking a little bit of a, deeper dive into not just the basics of astrology, but what else is there once you go beyond just your sun sign and maybe your rising sign, and looking at those charts. And so today we have astrologer Aaya Samadhi with us, and I'm excited to learn because there's a lot of crazy events going on in the world right now, and I'm always fascinated to learn a little bit more about astrology since I'm still a newbie. So welcome.
Nice. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
So, I want to chat with you a little bit about, I want to hear your journey for a moment about how you got into astrology and when you took that step, since our kind of topic is beyond, the basic signs and learning that chart. When did you first start getting involved in being fascinated with astrology, and when did you take it a step further to start to study it?
Yeah, so funny story. When I was growing up, I did not believe in astrology at all. Because I'm a Capricorn, and I would always read, the Capricorn horoscopes, and I would read the descriptions of what a Capricorn is like, and I would always read these things like, very structured and disciplined, and I'm like, that's not me at all. So I didn't believe in astrology for a long time, and then when I was 16, a family member of mine purchased a birth chart reading for me. And it was really interesting, but she didn't really go too much deeply into it. So I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. And then I remember years down the line, when I became an adult, probably around age 20, I was working at a bank. And a friend of mine was like, oh, have you been on this site? You see your sun, moon, and rising. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. It just kept getting brought back up to me. So it was almost as if the universe was like, all right, you need to look into this. So I just had a lot more friends that were getting into it. And then I got an in-depth reading. This was about 5 or 6 years ago. And I was like, this is real when I got that in-depth reading. The astrologer that did that for me, they were just able to predict things about my life that had happened years ago, from my childhood, that no one else would know. And it was also at a time in my life where there was so many weird things happening, and I was just like, why is this happening? I'm always the type of person to ask why. Yeah. So astrology gave me a lot of answers for why certain things would happen, because I'm so analytical. But yeah, that's how I started my journey, and that's how I pretty much
So then you
got into it.
So then you said, okay, I need to learn this? Or what was the next step? Okay, you're fascinated by this reading. You're like, okay, they knew things about my past. And okay, so they could pinpoint different elements of your past. Could they also pinpoint in that reading some points that were going to be coming up for you in the future?
Yeah, they were able to do that as well, and also some things that I was currently going through at that time as well. So it just really gave me insight into my life in the past, present, future, and I just became obsessed. Like, I breathed and lived astrology for that full next year. And then I started doing free readings for people at some point. And then it just got overwhelming to the point where I was just doing so many free readings that I ended up making a business out of it. And I was like, this is amazing. And I just felt like it was what I was called to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so what was one of the first things that fascinated you about getting that in-depth reading and learning more, that there's more than just your sun sign that puts into play?
I think the thing that fascinated me the most was learning about my North Node.
Okay.
So the North Node in your chart represents your purpose in life and what you're supposed to do and what you're supposed to achieve and manifest for yourself in life. And then opposite of that is a placement in the chart that's called the South Node that has to do with past life karma and what you're letting go of and what you're moving on from. And my North Node is in Sagittarius and my South Node is in Gemini.
Okay.
And I remember reading something about the South Node in Gemini, and it was like, in your past life, you may have been a journalist. And at the time, I was really heavy into journalism. I wanted to go to school for journalism, and I was always writing these articles online. So I was like, that's so crazy. And
so it's like you were manifesting what you were familiar with in your life.
Exactly. And that's the thing about the South Node is that we tend to more so lean towards what the South Node, because that's what we're used to. That's what we're coming from. Whereas the North Node is something that we have to manifest. So that was really an intriguing part of that reading, was learning about my North Node and my South Node. And then, learning with the North Node in Sagittarius is about traveling the world and diving deeper into knowledge and, gaining more wisdom and gaining a deeper insight into your spirituality. So I was just like, oh, wow, that really sounds like what I'm supposed to be doing. So, yeah.
Yeah. And then, so from that, you kind of organically became, obsessed with it, like you said, and lived, breathed, and then started to say, okay, let me share this because I'm so excited with everybody. Let me see as many charts as I could. And in that, did you notice when you were giving readings to other people, seeing, was there any kind of oh, wow, this doesn't even just work for me, it works for them too? Or, what were people's responses, and what did you get out of doing all those free readings for a while?
Yeah, so the free readings, it really gave me the ability to have an impact on people's lives and really help them understand themselves on a deeper level. Because a lot of the times, people tell us about ourselves all the time. I can tell you, oh, you do this or you do that. And we may or may not take it for face value, or sometimes we take it, sometimes we don't, depending on if it's a compliment or if it's criticism. But astrology is unbiased, because when I was giving these free readings to people, a lot of the time, sometimes they were my friends and family, but a lot of the times they were people that I didn't know, because I had gained a following on social media, and I would just read random people's charts that I didn't even know for free. Yeah. And so these are people that I've never even spoken with, and I'm able to tell them things about themselves, and they're like, oh, wow, you actually know this. And they would be better able to take my word for it because I'm someone that they don't know. So it's not like I'm being biased or, picking something apart from them that I know personally about them. I'm just reading the chart. Yeah. So it helped them gain more clarity on their lives, and they really appreciated it for the most part. And I never got any bad feedback.
Wow. And for your type of readings, what do you kind of do? Do you do more like landscape and what people are swimming in, or do you do more predictive, or do you do more like, helping guide them through difficult times? What do you find that you do? What's your kind of flavor?
So it really depends on the reading. I do different types of readings. So I do have more so predictive readings that I do, which are like, oh, what can you look forward to? Mm-hmm. So I have year ahead readings that I do, which is me looking at their chart in relation to the transits that are coming up for the next full year. And then I also do monthly transit reading, so we can look at the month ahead and things like that. But usually the first time is just like that birth chart in-depth reading, and I call it cosmic counseling.
Okay.
Because what I have found, and most of the testimonials and the reviews that I've received from people, is a lot of times they say that my sessions are like therapy.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, it's so therapeutic. This was better than my therapy session. So I'm not only telling them about themselves, but I'm like helping them navigate, through that process, showing them their strengths and their weaknesses, helping them point out what their purpose in life is, what direction they should be going, but then also diving into stuff that people don't necessarily want to talk about, because when you're reading someone's chart, it's very personal, so sometimes I see things in a chart about something that may have happened during a person's childhood or something in regards to a relationship, and that comes up in the session. And so we talk about that, and it's really nice because I'm able to hold space for people, and people are able to be vulnerable with me, which I'm honored, because not everyone is going to be that way with just any person.
Yeah.
So it's a big responsibility, but it's also really rewarding too.
I love that. So with that being said, so you do all of these different types of readings, and one of the other topics that we're going to talk about today is really looking at kind of like our year on like a global or, a national level, right? And so with that being said, I'd love to hear a little bit about some of your insight. It's 2020, and it has been crazy since 2020 started. We've had fires erupt all over Australia and every part of there. We've almost went into a third world war. Oh my God, it's like a little I can't even, blooper, have fun with it. No, just not gonna need to have to cut it. But, and allowing, so we've had that, with everything that was going on with the United States and Iran. And then you have the biggest economic crash happening right now. And you have a worldwide pandemic happening with the coronavirus. I mean, we're 2 months in, and it's like
crazy.
It's crazy town.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. And what is happening right now is extremely significant. It's something that's been brewing for a long time through like a slow process. At the very beginning of the year, we had an eclipse. And an eclipse is basically a major astrological event. They are either new moons or full moons on steroids. So they bring about major life changes, epiphanies, big turning points within the world and society. And this happens multiple times a year.
So what was special about this one in the beginning of the year?
So what's special about this one is that it happened 2 days before a major alignment with Saturn and Pluto being in the sign of Capricorn. And this is something that's been brewing for the past couple of years, with Saturn and Pluto being in the same sign together, but they were exactly together on January 12th. And there was an eclipse that happened 2 days before that.
Okay, so what does that mean? Them being in alignment. What? Why is that so significant? What energies does that bring off?
So Pluto is the planet of transformation and death and rebirth. And wherever Pluto is, or wherever Pluto is transiting for us, it's going to break major things down so that we can birth something new. And Saturn represents structure and building things and commitment and boundaries. And these two planets are both in the sign of Capricorn. Now, this alignment does not happen very often. And with them both being together, it's like we are breaking down different structures to rebuild something. So the whole thing that happened with, the Trump administration and him almost being impeached.
I didn't have that one, and that was another one too. But I mean, talk about everything breaking down. We have, we have all of Australia on fire. We had war about to break out. We've had our president almost impeached. We have a worldwide pandemic that might kill a large portion of the population. I mean, we don't even know what that data is coming out, and what the impact of that is going to be. But even at their 2 to 5% of people that get it death rate, but you got to know that that's a lot higher when hospitals are overrun or in poorer countries that don't have the medical care. So I'd say that could jump from 10 to 20% of the world's population. Mm-hmm. Huge. And on top of it, you're seeing now we are having the biggest economic downfall globally. This isn't one country. All countries' economy are crashing, because it's a global thing happening.
Right. So Capricorn is the sign of governmental structures and tradition. So with Pluto and Saturn together being in the sign of Capricorn, Pluto representing transformation, death and rebirth, and Saturn having to do with structure and rebuilding things, and them both being aligned in Capricorn, it's breaking down a lot of those structures so that we can rebuild. And what's happening now is that there's a lot of energy clearing that's happening on a global scale.
You could say that. I mean, it's pretty tragic, but it is. There's so much going on.
And the other side of it is that we have the North Node, which represents our purpose and what we're supposed to be moving towards and fulfilling, and that's in the sign of Cancer. And I'm sure that you've also noticed. Centered around some of the major deaths that have occurred as far as celebrities, like Kobe Bryant. For example, he was someone that was very influential, had a huge mark in his career in society, and Capricorn is actually the sign of career. Yeah. But the other side of that was that he was also a family man, and he was, very much about being a father and being involved with his children. Mm-hmm. So the North Node being in Cancer means that we are purging a lot of things related to our governmental structures and the foundation of society and rebuilding that because of the Pluto and Saturn being in Capricorn. But with the North Node being in Cancer, we're supposed to be leaning more towards being more nurturing, being more caring, and, appreciating the family foundation.
Finally, we've been in greed and corruption for the last 100 years. We need to shift it, it's been about money and power and, greed and I don't care as long as I win. It's been a competitive individual aspect on a global basis, and because of that, you see what's happening. You see global warming. You see 90% of the fish in the ocean being fished out. You see, most of the species of animals on the endangered species list. You see, so much. It's unsustainable. It's completely unsustainable. And, nobody is caring. And then with the social media culture, it's like everything's about me. Me, and people are forgetting about we. Mm-hmm. And it's, I just, it's like, it's much,
overwhelming.
where that's the only, hope that I see out of this, tower destruction happening is maybe that we get to rebuild something that's actually sustainable.
Yeah.
But I don't think we can ever go back to how we were after all these events.
And that's the beauty of it. So Pluto Pluto, with it being in Capricorn, and just Pluto in general, it creates tragedies. So whenever we have Pluto in a certain sign, there usually will be tragedies or traumatic events with themes surrounding that particular sign. So like, for example, when Pluto was in the sign of Cancer, that was when we had the Great Depression, that was when we had World War I, and there were a lot of families that were separated because of this, and people were literally struggling to simply survive, and Cancer is the sign of family. But people also placed more of a high importance, with family around that time.
Yeah.
But now, with Pluto being in Capricorn, people are so concerned with success, because Capricorn is the sign of success. People are like, oh, I need to be successful. I need to make this amount of money. Like you're saying, people are overly focused on that, but we're also needing to purge some of that, break some of these traditions. A lot of people are also talking about, changing up the way in which we do things with our families and creating new traditions and breaking generational trauma. That goes back to the North Node being in Cancer, which has to do with our family values and our roots. So it's very much of a lot of father, mother, paternal, maternal energy that's been happening for quite some time. And Pluto has been in Capricorn since 2008. So if you can think of what happened in 2008, we had the recession, we had Obama that went in office.
Wow. And then, so with that being said, just something that I'm thinking, because you're referencing the Great Depression happened when Pluto was in Cancer, and now you're saying that it's kind of the nodes have switched, and so the at that time that would have been, so now you're saying that the opposite, right? So Pluto is in Capricorn, but the opposite energy of it is the Cancer energy, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like we're doing a complete, switch, right? And so it's interesting. They went from more family given to, after the Great Depression, needing to protect herself, wanting to make more money, wanting to be more like entrepreneurial mindset, money orientated, financially stable, world power. All of that happened, and that was in the shadow aspect, or the downside, right? Or the opposite node side, right? So it was like it pulled that into existence, and we're almost like doing a pole shift.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Yeah, exactly. So that's the beauty in astrology, is that we can see these shifts and these cycles, because life is all about cycles. We're constantly going through different phases. As we know, the moon goes through phases. We go through phases like the moon. And all of these things, they connect everyone. So that's one of the things that I admire about astrology, is that it shows us how we're all connected and how everything just kind of relates and correlates.
Okay. No, I think that the people that are watching are thinking, wow, well, a couple months in, we've faced some of the biggest things in anybody's lifetime, or even their parents' lifetime. So what else is, because I don't know how much more people can take, but it might be more destruction that's happening. But as you see, the rest of the year and kind of that forecast for the rest of the year, what are some things that you anticipating seeing happen within society, individuals, and global,
So a major thing that's going to happen this year is that Saturn is actually going to be transitioning into Aquarius, and Jupiter is going to be transitioning into Aquarius as well. So we're kind of going to start moving out of that Capricorn energy, even though Pluto will continue to be in Capricorn until 2024. So we still have some time for that.
So even though it seems like a massive clearing that just started to happen, it's going to take a few more years. We're going to be in the thick of it. I mean, I don't know. Like, I thought these last 2 months were a lot. You just sprung 4 more years on it?
We will see how it goes. But Saturn is going to move into Aquarius, and Jupiter is going to move into Aquarius as well.
So what does that mean?
Aquarius is a sign of innovation, and
well, we definitely need it after like every economy and every structure is collapsing.
So what we're going to start seeing is technology is going to get to an entire new level. I mean, we've already seen how technology has transformed and changed so much over the years, but it's going to continue
We're
to
going to live
evolve.
in a world of Black Mirror. If anybody hasn't seen that show, like it's like freaking lenses that you're wearing and you can record everything. Rewind. Like it's fucking freaking creepy. But we're not too far off, you know. They do have Oculus recording technology for your lenses of your eye. I mean, the nanotechnology is already there.
Yeah, so technology is going to continue to evolve, and Aquarius is also the sign of consciousness and just knowledge, and the saying for Aquarius is I know. So our consciousness as a whole and on a global level is going to continue to increase, especially because of technology. Things are going to be we're going to start having more awareness about, things that may not have been so readily known to everyone. It'll be even more available. And then also astrology is going to continue to boom. I mean, we already are starting to have more apps, for astrology, and astrology is becoming more of a regular conversation, when before the average person wouldn't really know too much about astrology, but especially with millennials and, technology.
Which is funny, because if you go back, to, I don't know, the Sumerians or different other cultures, and the Sumerians being the oldest culture and things like that, everything's based on astrology. Everything in different eras, whether Greek mythology and then the astrology that they looked at, and astronomy was like huge in our past, and then somehow it teetered off, and now it's coming back.
I know, right? Yeah, and see, that goes back to the cycles, because we're always going to go through these cycles of, the planets moving throughout the signs. There's 12 signs, so everything always comes back 360 degrees, full circle.
Yeah, but hopefully full circle on more evolution.
Right, we're supposed to be rising, not declining.
Yeah, or staying, and let's just repeat it again. Please sign me up for a new planet. Thank you. How many lessons do we need to learn here?
I know, right? So yes, with Jupiter and Saturn moving into Aquarius this year, that's going to be major as far as leveling up our consciousness is concerned, and also major increases in technology. More people are going to want to help and volunteer and do more humanitarian type work, because Aquarius is also the sign of the revolution, the revolutionary. So we may actually have some major protests during this time with Jupiter and Saturn.
And when does this happen?
So Saturn is actually moving into Aquarius in March of 2020, and then Jupiter goes into Aquarius in December. So Saturn is only going to be, we're going to get a peak of it in Aquarius this year. It's going to retrograde back into Capricorn, I think around June. And then it's going to go back into Aquarius in December, when Jupiter will also be moving into Aquarius as well.
Okay, so like in March, we go forward for a few months, and then we go back in June, and then come December, we go forward again.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to get a little peak of that this year, and then at the end of the year, in December, it'll be in Aquarius to stay for the next 2.5 years.
So we have to go through all of this stuff for another, almost a year? We have to wait until December to get this stuff over with? I mean, I guess there's a lot to clean up. There is a lot to clean up. We're just seeing the tip of the iceberg. I mean, I'm not sure when people are watching this video, but I know it'll be a couple weeks from when we're probably recording it right now, and it's already crazy. So some of the stuff is going to be 10 times the exponential impact, but I just keep on hearing in my head, the age of Aquarius.
Yes, and that is what we are. I mean, astrologers have a big debate about when the age of Aquarius started.
Okay.
There are different timelines that people say. I personally say that it's already started. Some people are saying that it's going to start once we have the Saturn and Jupiter alignment in Aquarius. But we are nevertheless we're transitioning into that age of Aquarius time, which is a time of huge enlightenment. So like I said, a lot of knowledge is just going to be, it's already readily available because we have the internet. But
whether people want to consume it is something different, right?
Exactly.
There's so much available to people at any given time, but I find that most people don't want to look or read or understand, right?
Right. So
then now you have the problem where a lot of things are censored, right? You know, like our technology rose so much for a period of time. You could Google anything or search on the different Bing or Yahoo or whatever, and you'd find all this uncensored material. But as algorithms and control started to come in, it's really hard to try to like maneuver to find some information that isn't what is put on the top intentionally, right? You have to get to 10 pages down to find some other things.
It's annoying.
You know, like, and so it's very interesting, even feeling like there's an open book of knowledge that it's censored. And I find that a lot with like now with the coronavirus. Like I'm literally like 10 pages down to find an article from Italy. And I'm like, you know, like it's like, even if I type Italy coronavirus and I put in the time frame from the last 24 hours or whatever the case may be, and I put some other keywords that I'm searching for, like all this other stuff pops up. And I'm like, I'm looking for that. I put parentheses around it, do all this stuff. I'm like, you can't tell me that doesn't exist on the internet anywhere. Like, you cannot tell me that this doesn't exist. Finally, I get to 10 pages into the search engine, and I'm like, oh, there's what I was looking for. And why are you even showing me this stuff that had nothing to do with what I was asking about, you know? Yeah. But it's interesting, but we're going to see that shift.
Yeah, we are going to see that shift as far as more people just wanting to be more aware of, everything that's going on, and finding more things about just being knowledgeable, and even increasing their awareness as far as like what's in foods and, what's healthier for you to eat and things of that sort. So we're going to see that awareness increase as far as our consciousness is concerned. Major changes in technology. We already have robots that are citizens. I don't know if you've heard of that.
No, fill me in. I mean, maybe I've been deep diving too much in the political drama.
Yeah, there's a robot that's a citizen. I think in Saudi Arabia, they made a robot a citizen. She's been on like national television. She can hold a whole entire conversation with you. So we will start to see more of those things as well during the age of the Saturn and Jupiter alignment in Aquarius. It's going to be an interesting time. It's going to be an interesting time.
Robots and different things. I mean, when's the tickets to Mars happen?
But also the positive thing is that we're going to be moving towards what's better for the collective, because Aquarius rules the 11th house in astrology, which has to do with the collective. It has to do with humanity as a whole, groups and organizations of society. So we're going to be more so thinking and moving towards a mindset of what's better for humanity as a whole, instead of being in this mindset of, oh, it's all about me. It's all about me. We're going to be...
That's needed. Otherwise, pretty soon there ain't going to be no animals left. The whole planet, the water is going to... All the ice caps are going to melt, and all the major cities are going to be underwater. I mean, these are this is real stuff happening. People are not even aware. Scientifically, they say that by 2050, most of the coastline cities are going to flood a minimum of 24 times a year. This is massive flooding. This is the type of flooding that we've been seeing recently in Venice. So you're going to see, most of the East Coast, some of the West Coast, most of Florida. Then you're going into Europe and all the coastal cities there and all the coastal cities in other places. But you're talking about, a few inches rise on the ocean. And then more and more as it continues, but the floods on the high tides and stuff like that going in and literally flooding the cities like you're seeing in Venice. And they predict that by 2050, and this isn't, it's not too far away, and that's if it progresses at the rate that it's progressing now. If we do anything that's going to increase that, which we are, because everything keeps on increasing as far as industrial pollution, other things, lack of care, all of this stuff, if it starts to increase, we're talking about, 3 of the 4 boroughs in New York are going to virtually be underwater. And when I say underwater, it doesn't mean that it's flooding to the 4th floor. It means like the 1st floor of buildings and stuff are flooded. People aren't going to live there anymore. And where is all of this happening? We're going to see a massive difference in coastlines globally. And where does the majority of the world's population live? They live on coastal cities. Okay, so you're talking about the majority of the planet are going to literally have to move inwards on their continents of wherever they may be. And, we can't continue to live like this. I know that there's the people that fight against global warming and they say, well, the planet goes in cycles. Yes, that's true. But we are exponentially increasing it and pushing it further, where this isn't something that's like, oh yeah, later on, down the line, maybe my kids' are going to have to deal with it. This is like, no, you're going to have to deal with it in this lifetime. Mm-hmm.
Wow. I haven't heard about that or researched that, so I'm definitely going to have to do my research on that.
Yeah, like you can look into all that, like in Waikiki and Hawaii, like that most of that's slated to be underwater, had massive flooding starting by 2030, by 2050, you're talking about.
So that's going to be when 2030 Pluto will be in Aquarius. So this is going to be around the time where there will be some type of revolution. Trust me.
And so I mean, and these are this is hard science, guys. You can look it up, the different ways that they've calculated oceans even increasing in the flooding. And again, I'm not saying that everything's underwater and the whole coastline's different. I'm saying flooding, think about the Venice canals flooding in Italy. Think about how it went into all the shops and flooded the 1st floor and did that multiple times in the year. This is what they're saying is these cities that are going to be impacted are going to have floods a minimum of 24 times in a year. Mm-hmm. And so that's what they consider a flooded region by definition. It's 24 impacted flooding in a certain region on an annual basis. So these are going to be non-livable. Right? Imagine New Orleans just constantly flooding. That's not you can't live there. If 24 times out of the year, your whole 1st floor, is in 10 inches of water, you can't live there. Houses are going to be filled with mold too, okay, got my raft here.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so the Aquarius energy that we're going to be having, if those predictions are going to come true, the Aquarius energy that will be happening is more than likely going to push a lot of people to fight to break these things from happening, because Aquarius is the revolutionary of the zodiac and the humanitarian. So that's interesting, that's a prediction of what's to come.
I'm thinking of the revolution. There's that Brazilian show that's on Netflix called The 3%. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't.
It's a good show, but they have this revolution against there's the people on the mainland and then the people that are on the North Shore or whatever, this island that is the utopian society, and but it's all controlled in this, but they have this rise up and they, plow through because everybody else is living in poverty. But while the 3% that are chosen to live on this island live in the best life, everything that they want, it's luxury, it's all of this stuff. But everybody that lives on the mainland is living in what would be equivalent of our slums here in some of the third world countries,
Wow.
Like in Brazil and places like that, where you see the slummed regions and everything like that. That's the mainland, and then the offshore is not the North Shore. The offshore is this utopian society, but they have this revolution.
Wow.
And so, but that's where, it's a really good show. Not endorsed by Netflix. Maybe if you guys want to throw us a bone, but. But so what else? What are some other things that you see?
So another thing that we have right now is the planet Uranus in the sign of Taurus. And it's interesting, we're talking about the economy, we're talking about the earth and, what can happen to our land. Taurus is a sign of the economy. Taurus is also an earth sign and rules literally the ground. and, you know, the dirt that we walk on and things like that. So Uranus is a planet that's ruled by Aquarius, but it rules unpredictability and change. So whenever we have Uranus transiting a sign, we're experiencing major changes in whatever that sign is, and unpredictable events can happen whenever we have...
When does that happen?
It's now. So we have Uranus in Taurus. Uranus just went into Taurus last year, but this is a 7-year transit.
Okay.
So for the next 7 years, we're going to be seeing a lot of changes with our economy. Taurus is also the sign of values. So we're going to be seeing a lot of changes in our value systems just as a whole in society. Like what do we value? And then also changes within the earth. There may be more earthquakes. There may be more, changes within what's going on with the environment and things like that. I think actually, when Uranus first went into Aquarius last year, I can't remember the exact date, but I think there was like a volcano or something that happened, a volcano eruption that happened right after Uranus went into Taurus. And the Uranus in Taurus transit is going to be making a harsh aspect with the Aquarius energy, because Aquarius and Taurus, we call it a square in astrology when two signs, they challenge each other.
And when is that happening?
So this is going to occur within 2021. We're going to experience this, this harsh aspect. They're going to continue to make harsh aspects throughout the years.
So next year, is it like the beginning of the year, middle? When is that? Do you know?
Yeah, so I don't know the exact date off the top of my head, but we will be experiencing it a couple of times throughout 2021 when Uranus and Pluto, I'm sorry, not Pluto, Uranus and Saturn and Jupiter will be making these challenging aspects with each other. So that is basically... With Uranus and Saturn and Pluto, not Saturn and Pluto, Saturn and Jupiter challenging each other. Saturn is about our structures and Uranus is about what makes us feel free. We're changing things. So we're going to kind of feel a little bit of confrontation as far as how we're trying to structure our lives, but in relation to how we're also trying to change society as a whole. So it's like we're trying to structure ourselves in a certain way, but it's conflicting with what we're trying to do to free ourselves or to create some type of change within society. So we may start seeing those themes as well. But with these two signs, together, and Uranus and Taurus and Saturn and Jupiter in Aquarius, you're going to see those changes with humanity. You're going to see those changes with the economy. That's why the economy, what did you say?
It's just the worst that it's ever been. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, and then Taurus,
not the worst that it's ever been, but you're having, it's just some of the stock market's dropping up to 1,000 points a day right now. We've lost like over, I would have to look, and I don't know the date that people are looking at this, but the global economy has lost trillions of dollars in a matter of a few days. And so as that continues to go, it's just going to continue to have a bigger and bigger impact. And I don't see that number going up anytime soon. I only see it going down. And so you're talking about massive global recession.
Yeah, that's Uranus and Taurus for you. We're gonna see even more changes within the next 6 years, because it's already been a year of this transit of Uranus and Taurus. And then also we're gonna see a lot more changes with our food. So because Taurus is a sign of food. So if you've noticed, a lot more restaurants are starting to have vegan options, like restaurants that you never would have thought would have vegan options, like KFC, I think even has like a vegan chicken wing or something like that. And things, Del Taco and, these fast food places that are providing vegan options. And they may not even necessarily be healthy, but they're creating all of these weird foods, and a lot of them are GMO. They're not even real. So we're gonna start seeing more changes with our foods, what we eat, the economy, finances,
our health.
Yeah,
how we view health. right? So, okay, so change. Destruction, conflict. Okay, what's something good happening this year?
Well, see, the good thing is that throughout this change...
I know that there's good to all of the change once we get beyond the change and the change. But I'm like, what's the like rosy, joyous thing that somebody has to look forward to?
So, I like to tell people that...
Nothing in this year is good to look forward to. You've heard it here first. I like to tell people, I see where this is going. This is the manipulation calls that I give people in like therapy. You know, like after you get through this, you're going to be like a new person. It's like, you know, you became that caterpillar and then you morphed into a butterfly. You're going to have wings. It's going to be a difficult transformation, but you're going to have wings.
Well, I like to say that there's no such thing as good or bad. When it comes,
that's the same line I use.
No, I'm serious though. None of these things are really good or bad.
No, I know, but they're challenging. So I didn't know if there was anything that was like light and airy or like kind of a blessing that was going to be experienced.
I mean, of course, there are going to be sweet aspects that we're going to have, throughout the year. Whenever the sun and Jupiter kiss, that's usually considered the luckiest day of the year in astrology.
When is that?
And that usually happens... it happens a different time of year every year, but I have to double check. But this year, since Jupiter is in Capricorn... actually, it already happened the end of last year. That was actually right on Christmas Day when Jupiter and the sun kissed. But it will probably be again in the end of this year in December when Jupiter goes into Aquarius. But I have to double check. Oh, no, it won't be. It won't be at the end of the year. It'll probably be the beginning of 2021 when it's Aquarius season. When that'll happen. But that's usually considered the luckiest day of the year. But we always have... harmonious times, throughout the months, throughout the years. And new moons are a great time of the month to set intentions and to use it as a time for manifestation that happens once a month. Okay. So we actually have a new moon. We just had a new moon in Pisces. We're going to have another new moon coming up in Aries soon. So those are good times of the year, for starting new things or trying to create something. Jupiter going into Aquarius is actually a good thing, and so is Saturn moving into Aquarius. I see it as a good thing.
No, I see it overall, the longevity of it and the long tail of it, absolutely good. I'm just saying, when you see the world of the fires, I mean, not the literal fires in Australia, but everything just kind of erupting, right? It's like a bomb going off. People are scared. People are lost. People are confused. People don't know what to do, and it's a challenging point in a time where, how do they, maybe that's some advice. How would you best give some advice of people going through in this scared fear kind of mindset that they might have because everything's, they're being affected, People are losing their whole fortune in the stock market. They're losing, many of them might be losing relatives to the pandemic that are going on. People might be losing jobs or businesses or different things along those lines. An article I read that came out by an Italian economist, and this was, weeks ago, said that if this impact continues in Q2, quarter two of the year, that over 50 million businesses will go bankrupt. Oh, wow. And, you have 936 of the Fortune 1000 companies in the United States are Tier 1 or Tier 2 business. They get their Tier 1 or Tier 2, they get their supply chain from China. So you're talking about Almost all of our Fortune 1000 companies are affected. You're talking about 50 million, if not more, companies, international, small businesses, medium-sized and large, have the potential to go bankrupt within the next couple months.
Yeah, I actually know someone that job was affected because of the coronavirus. They got laid off because...
And you're going to see this, and now, like, as it's spreading to more countries and the more bigger impacts in the other countries that it's going to have, this is already, and by the time people are watching that, it's more impact, I'm sure, And so it's, people's whole identity is getting, the rug is getting pulled from under them, what do you have to give people as, like, a token of, like, hope, inspiration, or that kind of, as seeing this from, like, a bigger perspective and seeing the whole shifts happening?
So what I say with that, because a lot of the things that I'm hearing is we're losing a lot concerning materialism, finances, and yes, because of the coronavirus, some people are losing physical people, family members, obviously that's traumatic. But when it comes to that, I think that spirituality is like the best thing that you can cling to when it comes to these type of events that are occurring. And spirituality is, it's personal for everyone. So I'm not saying anyone has to believe in a certain specific thing, but just knowing that these are all cycles, and that, we're always going to go through these times and periods where there's going to be challenges. There's going to be, like I said, Pluto, death and rebirth. There's something that has to go out in order for something to be reborn. And you can find that rebirth within yourself. And one thing as a collective that we're also going through is Neptune is in Pisces right now.
Okay.
And Neptune is the planet of spirituality. It's the planet of intuition and, gaining that awareness within yourself. And Neptune is ruled by Pisces. Yeah. So this is a great time as a collective for us all to dive deeper into ourselves internally. And the thing is that when things are chaotic externally, we have to go within. So that is my advice and my piece for that.
I love that. And, in recapping on that the cycle and that things, we have to have the change in order to have the rebirth, right? And I do think that ultimately people are going to find more happiness, more satisfaction, more truth, right? Because they're going to connect to their self, like you're saying, with spirit and everything. Connecting and finding that and finding what really matters instead of what had been thought to matter. Right?
Yeah.
So where can people find you?
People can find me. You can find me on social media, on Instagram, Aaya Samadhi. That's AAYASAMADHI. On Facebook, it's the same thing. You can also go to my website, which is alignedastro.com.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was definitely a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks, Liberate.
Thank you, guys.
If you enjoyed this conversation, like it, subscribe, and share it with your friends. If you want some more amazing resources on your path of liberation, head over to liberateyourself.com and sign up for our mailing list. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram at Liberate Hollywood, all one word, or Liberate Emporium, all one word. Until next time, liberate yourself.
So we have some of the most interesting, unique, and amazing meditations, I think, in the world. I mean, we have past life regression meditations, guided hypnosis meditations, Akashic record meditations, as well as healing meditations. Our meditations are pretty cool. And they're not just about stillness of mind and peace and sit there, I mean, we have those too. Don't get me wrong, but these are about meditations that are going to shift and change, and you're going to walk out of there feeling lighter, freer, healed, and even getting guidance and insight. So come down, experience one of our meditations. They're pretty badass.